Hey guys, Chris here, and I'm a Ukrainian Canadian. Today is October 25th, 2022, and let's get over the news happening in Ukraine, shall we? And before I begin, again, I want to give a huge thank you to everybody that has been watching my videos and supporting my channel. It really means a lot. And again, a huge shout out to Georgie from Ukraine Matters. You guys, if you haven't seen his channel, please follow him back. He has also really lots of great insight and content. Anyways, let's get over the news because there's a lot of things to cover today. So there have been reports that the Ukrainian army is advancing very, very close to Svatove, which is in Luhansk, and they're about to take the city. If Svatove falls, I think that the Russian lines might start collapsing very quickly. Again, these are unconfirmed for now, and again, there's a media blackout, so we can't really confirm 100% if that is the case, but I'm not surprised. We're very close to the city. The Ukrainian lines have been, or I should say the Russian defensive lines have been pounded by HIMARS systems and artillery, and they're just right now just trying to hold on to their dear life. So Svatove is going to fall. When? Still to be confirmed, but I think in the very nearby future, within a week or two at most. So watch out for that. In other news today as well is Rishi Sunak officially takes over as British Prime Minister in Britain, which is the third prime minister in 2022 and the last 2 months. So hopefully, this is going to mean more stability for Britain. I know that a lot of people like him because he was opposed to Liz Truss's her policies for economic reforms to help battle the inflation in Britain, which was a disaster and pretty much ended her career as a prime minister. So let's hope for the best, and let's hope as well that he continues his support for Ukraine. But what matters the most as well is that he continues the well-being of all British people. Let's follow up with the other news is that the Russian fighter jet crash that happened in Irkutsk was a result of poor maintenance work. I've said it, guys, in my previous, I think my 2 videos ago, that there's 2 factors that's going to drive this continuation of airplanes falling from the sky, and it is poor maintenance and lack of experience. And here we go. It was a result of a low quality repair work that was completed recently, and it was probably due to a faulty oxygen system. I actually read another report that apparently they filled the oxygen tanks with nitrogen, which obviously caused the pilot to fall asleep in lack of air, and he just fell asleep and died, and obviously had no control over the jet anymore and crashed. So again, I'm going to continue saying it. Expect way more of these news coming out of Russia. Wouldn't be surprised if we have another news like that in the next few days. And this is the Wagner line that they were showcasing so proudly on Russian channels. And we can see the difference, these tiny little cement blocks that they have put as a defensive measure. And this is the actual Siegfried line during World War II. So you can see the difference. This is not going to do anything to protect or defend the Russian troops. I pretty much think they probably bought this on Alibaba or something in bulk because they seem to be in lack of everything right now in Russia. In other news as well, this is in Ukrainian, but 57% of Ukrainians have switched basically speaking their language. If you guys don't know, in Ukraine, obviously it's a bilingual country and there's a lot of Russian-speaking Ukrainians. And about 60% of Russian-speaking Ukrainians, or I'm not actually sure, but I think it's 60% of Ukrainians have fully committed to speaking Ukrainian since February 24th. And I've personally here in Canada have witnessed that. I have, I do interact with certain Russian-speaking Ukrainians, and I have witnessed that they have put a lot of effort to speak to me in Russian, in Ukrainian, which really surprised me. And it's a pleasant surprise. But as well, one thing to keep in mind is that what is amazing about Ukraine as well is the bilingual state it is in, right? I think Ukraine should be making sure that Ukrainian language is a priority, but as well not repress those that speak Russian. If anybody's been in Kiev, and I can attest to that to multiple times I've been there. What I loved about Kiev is the fact that, Russian-speaking Ukrainians and Ukrainian-speaking Ukrainians could get along very well without any problem. And as much as Russia tries to play the card of, there's a clash between the Ukrainian, Russian, Ukraine, it's not really the case. People live comfortably, and there have been minimal, conflicts in regards to that. As far as I'm concerned, that was my observation when I was in Ukraine. And that's the beauty of Ukraine as well, is just the fact that it is a true bilingual state. But let's put the focus on Ukrainian first, because that is obviously the main language of the country. So that's great news. And it kind of shows that a lot of Russian-speaking Ukrainians want to distance themselves from the Russian mentality that exists right now, which is, basically belittling the Ukrainian people, the Ukrainian nation. In other news, up to 500,000 people may have already been conscripted in Russia. Again, they said it would be 300 at most, but now it's 500. And I think they need to go all the way up to 1 million to have some sort of impact on the front lines. Whatever Putin says in his gang of, cronies, take it as a lie. And they're probably going to triple, if not quadruple, those numbers, essentially driving the Russian population to a huge decline. Already that the gender ratio in Russia is heavily scaled towards females due to World War II and its consequences for the male population, right? It just decimated the male population. The ratio has been disbalanced or imbalanced for the last 8 decades since World War II finished, and this is just going to drive down the Russian population to new low levels. So I'm expecting more mobilization, as much as Putin and his politicians are saying it's over. We've already accomplished what we need to accomplish. They need more soldiers because they just don't have enough. And last piece of news before I hit some videos and the map. China abandons its GDP target. So according to sources many, many years ago, and experts, I should say, they were expecting that China would hit its, be the #1 economic superpower by 2024, if I'm not mistaken. And well, lots of things changed for the past few years. COVID mainly, and Xi Jinping with his zero COVID policy, I think has been pretty disastrous in terms of the economic repercussions in China. And it's still ongoing. I believe that Xi Jinping has made it a very big priority to have a zero COVID policy, along the lines of also having a huge real estate bubble that crashed in China. About 70% of China's savings, of Chinese people and their savings, is put into real estate. And so the fact that the real estate prices have went considerably down since the past year with the Evergrande scandal. If you guys don't remember, last year in September, they fell in massive amounts of debt that they couldn't repay. And this caused a huge economic backlash in China. So China no longer is stating that it is their goal to become the #1 economic superpower, and rather they're just trying to significantly increase economic strength, scientific and technological capabilities, essentially just kind of coming down to a more realistic level of expectations for 2035. And if you guys haven't seen as well, there was a very interesting video where there was, I think the CCP had their annual meeting, and the former Chinese president was ousted in public. And I think it was a show of humiliation against the former Chinese president, to kind of show that Xi Jinping is not going to tolerate anybody that will be criticizing of him. And I believe that, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not going to say his name because I don't remember the name of the previous president of China, but he was a little bit critical of his policies, and I think that's what earned him to be ousted from the party. And last but not least, I want to show you a little bit of the developments in Svatove. Again, this deep state map is a little bit behind due to the mere fact that there's a media blackout, and I think that they're also trying to do their best to not really show the gains that the Ukrainian army has made in the past few days. And Svatove is located here, so right between the Kharkiv and Luhansk Oblast. It's a big city, and if we take this city, it essentially kind of collapses this Wagner defense line that we've seen that they've set up around here, right? They go through the town, they can right behind this, illusion that the Russian army created that they're super well defended here. If you look at the map a little bit, the defensive line is set up like this. So I think that the Russians have really made a priority to make sure that Severodonetsk, Starobilsk, were heavily defended. But if the Ukrainians manage to penetrate the city, nothing really stops them, I think, to really do the same sort of blitzkrieg that we've seen in Kharkiv. But it's yet to be seen. It's yet to be confirmed if we're going to take it or if we have already taken it. But it'll be surely interesting to see the developments in the near few days. And last video, very comical. I laughed a lot because it's, again, if you guys don't know, it's the TikTok battalion, the Kadyrov troops. And there was a video of them being struck probably by HIMARS missile and the aftermath, and they all look like clowns. So let's look at the video. I'm not going to comment much about it. You can see all the dust everywhere. All the dust all over them, like in the red over the lips, makes them look like really like geishas or clowns. It's very funny. Especially that one. So if any of you don't know, the Kadyrovs are just a joke of a battalion. Their main role in this conflict is to essentially be sort of this third line that doesn't allow troops that decide to desert to do it, right? They just have an order to shoot and kill any deserter. So that's their main goal. The Kadyrovs are just there for ensuring that the Russian soldiers don't leave the front lines, and then they storm through any liberated towns and claim that they were the ones who liberated it, when in reality it was the work of other battalions. So the Kadyrovs have zero training, zero experience, and they just are there for show. And that's what they're known as the TikTok battalion, because they have essentially zero combat capacity. So that's it, guys. That's my video for today. Again, a huge thank you for everybody that watches and supports my content. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And Slava Ukraini. Thank you.